Have you been on a quest recently to become more confident, but end up feeling like you'll never have things together enough to succeed? If you just nodded your head yes to that, then this episode is for you. I know how easy it is to get trapped in this dead end place, as well as how simple it is to get back on track. I'm excited to show you a little perspective, recalibration, and some steps to take to get confidently moving in the right direction. Today's the day that we debunk the myths about how confidence is actually developed. After tuning into this episode, you'll gain some insights into what hinders our personal growth and confidence. You'll hear about how our mental headspace shapes competence and self-assurance, and you'll walk away with some new ways to see and approach your journey to operating with confidence. If you've been following the show and enjoy it, consider sharing it with a friend and leaving a 5-star written Apple review. Your love and kind words really do help other listeners like you find the show. Do you crave better self-esteem and confidence but feel stuck in a fog of uncertainty? If you're ready to get clear on your future and plan for personal success, this show is for you. I'm Jennifer DeBellis, award-winning author, speaker, and life coach. I show women like you how to cut themselves free from worry and self-doubt to confidently fulfill their greatest desires. Ready to restore your inner warrior? Then turn off those distractions and tune in to this next episode. So I want to open today's episode with a couple of recent conversations that I had over the last couple of weeks that really fed into what I wanted to talk about in today's episode. In these particular conversations, there were two themes that kind of emerged that kind of coexist in the same space. And there was these themes about shame of failure and being shamed by failure. So you recognize those are two distinct things, but they belong to the same space that we want to talk about today. So in one instance, a friend is going through this major rift, and it's this really stressful time, and it's bringing a lot of old triggers in. And my heart was breaking as she was like, Jennifer, like, what if I fail? What if they win? What if they beat me? And my heart was just like, ugh. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this sounds like conditioned self-doubt. And it got me thinking about the classic abuse patterns. It's where the abusers have convinced her over the course of long-term interactions that she'll never escape them and no one will ever believe her if she tries or dares to say anything against them. As we were talking back and forth, she got to this place where she was just like, I cannot handle losing against them. And so I would rather just walk away from this right now than have to make myself vulnerable only to lose. And I'm going to circle back around to this conversation as well as the other conversation that I was having. And in this one, I was struck by how defeated a friend of mine felt as a result of being kind of like ousted from a circle that she belongs to. And she had taken everything this other individual said about her, very judgmental, critical things, things that were really insensitive, not her place to say, not entirely accurate or true. You know how sometimes someone will take one little shred, one little thing that maybe you're flawed in, or maybe you kind of messed up and got off track on, a specific task or interaction, and they'll take that one thing and they'll build this mountain on it to convince you that you're worthless and you're not going anywhere and you're dead weight and all these different things. And so in this situation, this other person was taking these critical things so deeply to heart that she couldn't actually separate her good qualities from her bad qualities. As a matter of fact, she wasn't even seeing any of her good qualities. She was just really internalizing all of these awful things that this individual had said to her. And because of this, she was kind of preparing, let's just call it like a parting speech. She was preparing some kind of response, and this response fed into this other person's toxicity while diminishing her own value and confidence in her abilities. And it was really sad for me to see that, but I was really grateful to be in the company of each one of these individuals so that I could kind of challenge some of this thinking and I could speak something positive into their experience. And already today, one of them reached out to me and I can see the positive direction that she decided to take things. And it's really encouraging to see these outcomes. And I have every faith that my other friend is going to come through this stronger. And before I get into what transpired in these conversations or the things that I'm going to choose to include, because these are their private matters, I want to share a little analogy. So I was thinking, obviously, over the last week about how confidence is actually formed and all the misconceptions that we understand about confidence, but also about the competence that drives confidence. And I want you to think about, imagine that your headspace is like this organization. So it's like this business or this organization. It exists in kind of like this space, this environment. Let's think of it like a building. And it's run by departments. And these departments are staffed by staff members who are the workers. So I want you to think about your emotions as these staff members who play particular roles within these departments or these divisions within the larger building, within the larger organization. And for instance, I want you to think about like anxiety. We all know about anxiety. Anxiety is a staff member who works in the concern department. And so does worry, anxiety's best frenemy. And when you think about a scenario like this, picture yourself as the CEO. So you are the chief executive officer, the end all, the person who is ultimately in charge of every single thing. And every single amount of authority that you delegate or give away to another department head or director is something that you decide to do. And you also control relinquishing some of that control from those individuals or that authority from those individuals when things don't go as they were supposed to go, or they're doing their job or not doing their job or abusing some of the systems that are in place in order to be successful and keep your organization running optimally. So again, to build on this, you're the CEO, you're at the top of everything, and then you're going to have to staff this and build your organization around some really key players that are going to be in these management positions. Sometimes these are parallel to you or they're directly under you. So, for instance, in my case, I am a spiritual person and I am in partnership with God. I would say I'm in partnership with God. While I have been given full autonomy over my life, I'm in partnership. So I don't make decisions without first running by, or I already know what my partner's stance is in running the organization. So there are times when I don't need to go and run every single thing by my partner because we already have mutual agreements, but we are ultimately the ones who are in charge of everything. And then you'll build this good management team, and it's going to be headed by these high-ranking officials, and they'll be like full-time managers or directors or CMOs or fractional consultants that you bring in on short-term projects or to fulfill particular roles that no one else can manage to fulfill in this particular undertaking or situation. And these are all the important voices that are guiding your daily operations, and they're helping you inform the decisions that you make to keep things running optimally and also sustainably. And in this internal space scenario, these key players might be literal people like therapists, counselors, mentors, or they could be these outside influences like self-help strategies or training and education and things that you've done in the past or the knowledge that you bring away from certain interactions. Then now you have all of these different things and they all play these different roles. And then, as I mentioned, our emotions, so let's come back to those. They're the staff members who are kind of running around and doing all the work. They're doing all of the little tiny daily monotonous tasks and they're running around and they all serve their part. And what I love about this analogy as I was thinking about it and what I wanted to share with you today is that they all serve a place. So you think about like, oh, sometimes we get in this like utopic mindset where we're like, if we can just get everything out and I can live in this protective little bubble, then life will be perfect. And I'll have my personal success because there won't be any of these outside forces kind of thwarting my abilities or wreaking havoc or creating chaos or destructing or destroying my plans and all those different things that can come into play. And yes, there's a time and a place to clean house and to make sure that you're protected and you kind of take out the garbage and you get rid of people who are kind of contributing nothing but garbage or more garbage than they're worth into your life and into your environment here. And so those aren't the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about like anybody who's ever built a good team or a good board. A board of directors is a great one. They're going to have a very diversified group of individuals who all bring different gifts and talents and sensibilities and cultural background in different areas of knowledge and all of these different things and the and everything that they do with all of these different things to have a specific shaping of their character. You want this diversity because when they're sitting and they're really talking about the really tough stuff, if everybody is just like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, kind of a mentality, then your organization's doomed because you, even as the leader, sometimes need to be challenged. You need to maybe be reminded to look at the bigger picture or to look at things outside of how things just affect you. And so a good team or a good board of directors is going to do that. They're going to sit at that table and all those personalities are going to bring all these things in and they're going to have these conversations. And they're all going to expose things. Not every single thing's going to be usable, but everything can be taken under advisement. So just like that instance, when all of our emotions are running around inside of us doing particular work, some of those, we can't just get rid of worry. We can't just get rid of the whole concern department because concern is a good thing. Even worry and a little bit of anxiousness, raising the red flag, saying, remember what happens every time we do this thing or we let this person in. That could be a good thing. And then you take that under advisement. That doesn't mean that you don't move forward. Just means that you're considering all those things. Those things have a place. And so now imagine you're the CEO and you're walking into the board meeting with all of your leaders. You have everybody coming together and you're going to talk about what you're going to do for this particular issue that has now come up. And you have to work some things out. And right before you walk in, anxiety runs up. And anxiety is holding up a whole list of things and is talking a million miles a minute and is just totally trying to just deflate all of the confidence and all of the reassurance that you had walking in there. And then you have to look at anxiety and say, all right, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to take that under advisement. And now you go back to your work and I'll let you know how things go. You don't let anxiety come in and join the meeting. Anxiety works for the control department who isn't even a part of the leadership team. And so you tell anxiety, go back where you belong. So notice I didn't say you're going to fire anxiety. Maybe you're going to have some anxiety, employees that you're going to have to terminate, but you're going to have to keep filling that role. And you might not personally care to spend a lot of time with that particular personality. That's fine. You have to make sure that that role is designed for anxiety to do what it needs to do. And then you have to be the one in charge who kind of shuts everything else down. If it falls outside of the scope of your work, thank you. Now, please mind what's your business and let me mind what's my business. So you're going to head into that meeting and you are going to be the CEO. You're going to be the boss and you're going to take command of that because the long-term success of your organization relies on those things. And our personal success and confidence are influenced by how well we maintain control over the day-to-day activities in our inner world, just as we do our external world. So think of personal success like this healthy tree. So I'm going to give you another analogy, but this is a really good one that I was thinking about also. Think of it like a tree. On the surface, the tree has many flourishing branches. They might be like if you're in spring, approaching summer right now, they're going to be bursting with healthy leaves and flowers and fruit. But that tree also has these really deep roots. And if it's a healthy tree, those roots are going to be deep and they're going to have lots of veins that come out of them. And these are the parts that no one sees. They're at work underneath the surface, but no one sees how those branches are getting everything they need to grow and produce good fruit. But you, the tree, you do know all of these things. That tree's confidence stems from its ability to competently grow. And it has to competently grow when the conditions are right and also in the right season. So sometimes we are out of season and other people are judging something. And then we forget, well, we're not in the season to be producing that particular thing, but we know what's going on in the roots. And it's easy if we don't stay hyper aware of those things for someone else to confuse us or to get us to believe that we're off track or that we're not successful or that we're failing or all the things that lots of ill-willed people will try to speak over your life. And so I want to give you some clarity on competence. It's more than how well we do something or accomplish something. So I was thinking about competence. I was listening to a podcast a few days ago, and I heard someone talking about competence. And her definition of competence was really heavily rooted to how well we have done things in the past. So it's like we've done things enough times in the past successfully, and we know how to execute that now. So now that competence comes from that, and then the confidence stems from that. But I want to challenge that way of thinking because I would say that is one definition. I don't want to come in here and say, nope, that's wrong, and my definition's right. But I want to say competence is far more complex than that. Competence to me, especially when I'm working with my college students or I'm working with my coaching clients, and we're talking through some stuff and we're talking about how do you keep taking these risks, high risk, low stake instances where, yes, those are instances where our competence grows, trial and error, and then we learn how to do things better or we learn how to do them exceptionally well. And of course, it's easy to be confident in those situations, and it's easy to just see competence at work because you've done something, you've learned some things, and now you're executing that with excellence. And that is at the high end of competence. But on the other end of competence, if you think about you're doing things again, and maybe you have not had good success yet, but you know you want to accomplish this thing. You know you're better at it than you were the first or the second or the previous time you tried it. And so now you're going to go at it again. And you know that the results are probably going to be in your favor, getting you closer to succeeding this time, or maybe even succeeding this time. But either way, you enter it with the knowledge that the only way to do the thing that you want to do and ultimately, eventually accomplish it is if you try it now. And so the competence comes in knowing yourself enough to know that it's okay to try it. It's okay if you're not entirely successful or successful at all, and that you're going to come back to it again with new knowledge, just like you did in previous experiences that are going to get you that much closer to being successful and ultimately accomplishing what it is you want to accomplish. And so that form of competence is a result of inwardly knowing ourselves and inwardly knowing that I am capable. So it's this capacity. I'm capable of trying things, even if I'm not 100% successful. Even if I am 0% successful, I'm capable of trying things and learning from things if I fail. You learn more from failing from things than you do from getting it right the first time. If you do something and you get it right the first time, there's like very little to no learning curve there for you. So you might not even understand how you did that. So it might just feel like beginner's luck. But when you fail at something or it doesn't go entirely right, then you know, like, okay, I am going to come back to this, or the next chance you get to come back to that, you are competently coming forward, and that your confidence is going to work through you, even though you may not have been successful yet. And even though you might have all of these staff members, all of these emotions reminding you about what could go wrong, reminding you about what could go wrong, what has gone wrong, how you are inept in this way or that way. And if we don't get to a point where we try to tell them, go back to your desk, I'll let you know, I'll take it under advisement, I'll let you know how things play out, then we're going to be stuck in that dead end space thinking that our confidence comes from a different place and that we're never going to achieve that personal success. We will feel defeated and always and at every turn, like we never are going to find our way to the right path toward our personal success. So competence comes from learning to perform that task efficiently or well. And it's that learning part that these deep roots in the tree have all those veins that go out because it's looking. Every single vein that goes out in that root system doesn't always find what it needs, doesn't always find what it's looking for, doesn't find enough maybe of what it's looking for. So it has more veins and more veins that are like, okay, this is a dead end, let me vein off here. And so when we think about that tree analogy, competence just like those roots with its shoots and veins, are eventually working things out underground for us so that what's above ground can thrive. And no one sees that. You don't even really see it. You just know it's at work because you set the systems in place and you keep adjusting in real time and you keep adapting and becoming better and becoming better. And all that stuff is part of the root system that's underground and it's at work. And just like that tree, our confidence is what grows within that tree trunk and those branches. And that's what gives us the stability to stand tall, no matter what we're walking through, no matter if we've had success yet or not. So sit with that for just a moment and just think about that. Think about where your confidence comes from. It's this very unique strength and stability that it's almost like it's standing the test of time. And what grows from that competence and confidence, those leaves and the blossoms and the flowers and the fruit, is simply the evidence of these things. When our confidence is challenged or our confidence is shaken, I want you to think about the seasons of the tree and those times that things are just not in bloom. It's just not time for them to be in bloom. And a lot of times that's when people come and attack, or life situations come and convince us that we're not exactly where we're supposed to be, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, or we're not fruitful. And that's a really dangerous place to allow yourself to get stuck, because competence is better defined by how grounded we stay during those seasons, but also during the seasons where we're producing exactly what we're supposed to be producing. So sometimes our competence is better defined by how grounded we stay to ourselves as we manage situations, complications, and trials, not by how well we master every step along the way. The competence that feeds our confidence is rooted to our capacity to cope with our emotions, the level of authority that we exercise, how we apply prior knowledge and adjust in real time. Confidence, when viewed from this perspective, doesn't always come from mastering or getting it right so many times before you can say, okay, now I can hold myself with confidence because I'm proven. It comes from understanding that even if we haven't succeeded in the past, we get to try again with our new insights, like I explained above, and you are trying again with this hope and your plans to succeed this time. So our confidence kind of is driven by that as well. I cannot tell you how many times people have come up to me after hearing about a season that I've been through, and they're like, I did not realize what exactly you were going through. I kind of heard some things, like, oh yeah, they're going through a tough time right now. But I got to tell you, the way you were carrying yourself, with such confidence, and the way that you just executed things and navigated this, I don't know how you did it. I would never have been able to do that. And I was like, I hear that. And I'm like, how interesting that they perceive confidence because of the way I carried myself. And I'm not talking about faking it until you make it. I'm talking about just carrying yourself, holding yourself up high, regardless of what people are trying to label you or trying to do to derail you, or, like hinder your success, or just make you feel awful, and just using shame and condemnation to just make you feel like an awful person. Or, I don't know, some people rejoice in making other people suffer, or maybe not making them. Maybe they'll step back and say, I didn't make that person suffer, but they kind of celebrate when we're suffering sometimes. So each one of these young ladies that I was talking to in these different conversations over the last few weeks didn't even realize how fruitful her life was in all of these different areas, and how many great things she's accomplished and she's been through, and she has, she's survived and she's grown from, and just all of the amazing contributions that she gives to these different circles that she's running in. And they didn't know their competence was so deeply rooted in all these things that I just shared with you until I reminded them. Their emotions had been triggered by these ill-willed outside voices, and they were treating these voices like they were the ones in charge of the entire operation. And they just started to crumble under that pressure, when in reality, they're the ones that always held the control all this time. They have the power to change their situation and to take the steps to get out of these bad situations or to turn these situations around. I'm not trying to say that what each one of them is going to walk through right now is going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. It's not, and there's no way to kind of make it go quicker because sometimes we're tempted to be like, let me take the fast way here because just make this all go away. I'll have closure. I won't have to go up against this. I won't have to deal with the shame and the what if they beat me and what if they win? What if they make me look stupid? But that's like a short-term goal. And often those short-term things that we seek or that we actually pursue bite us in the butt in the long run. They end up coming back and costing us far more. And we just don't realize it at the time because we're just trying to like stop it already. And we kind of make these impulsive decisions or maybe these decisions that aren't informed by all of these different moving parts and all of these different things. And it's not looking with insight into the future and the very short term trajectory of how things might play out. And our long-term goals for maintaining this healthy inner and outer world thrive when we realize who we are and when we consider walking through it, even though it might be hard. And that doesn't mean that you have to walk through things by yourself. The one friend, the very first thing I said was, I'm going to be there. You tell me when this is happening. I'm going to be there for you. I can't wait to sit. I won't be able to say anything in the moment, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there to support you, but also to be another energy and force in that room that can't be reckoned with. That makes people uncomfortable. I am going to show up and I am going to be there. And I know my presence is going to bring a type of energy that makes those others squirm a little bit. And I don't even have to know how that's going to play out. And it doesn't even matter because my motives for being there is to let my friend know she's not alone going through this. I might not be able to walk this length of the path with her. I'll walk with her all the way up to the starting line. And I'll be there right at the finish line to grab her by the hand, to pull her in a hug. And in between, from the start to the finish, I will be there to cheer her on. And I will be one of her biggest cheerleaders. So I'm going to repeat to you a couple of the things that I said to my friend who was worried if they would beat her and make her look like a fool. I said, what if you beat them? That was my first question. And I said, what do you really have to lose? I mean, really think about that. Sit with that and listen to what it tells you. I know she had all these things that came to mind and she was sharing them, but I said, no, sit with it and really think about what do you have to lose? Because if things don't go as planned, how will you feel knowing that you boldly showed up for your own battle and fought for your truth? So on the flip side, if you don't show up and you don't walk through it, even if it's going to be hard, even if it's going to be a little scary, how will you feel if you don't do those things over the course of your lifetime? How will you feel when you don't get a redo and you can't go back at a later time and give voice? Even if you don't receive the kind of justice, for lack of a better word, that manifests by you telling your truth, and then maybe other people won't see that truth. Maybe they won't see it then, but they'll see it play out over time, and you've planted those seeds. And then I said, do you know you are capable and your confidence will guide you as you take authority over these triggered emotions? So it's not the people, because she's about to be done with those people. It's the emotions and all of those trauma triggers that are attached. And of course, their voices repeating in your head and all the patterns of abuse that conditioned the thinking and conditioned the emotions that now she has to deal with. Yes, those are still there. And maybe she can bring 100% closure to them. And maybe they're going to creep their ugly heads in from time to time. But she's going to be able to say, go back to your desk. I'll take that under advisement. Or you don't have any authority in this place right now. You get to decide that. And then to my friend who was in the mucky middle of planning her next steps, these are some of the things that I asked her to consider. I said, what do you already know to be true about yourself and your situation? What do you already know to be true about your personal successes? List these out. So I want you to list them out, and then the same with the negative stuff that they said to you. Then I want you to look at that list, find all of the stuff that applies and everything else that doesn't. You're going to cross it off the list. Then you're going to take these two lists, you're going to put them side by side, and notice right away the positive list should be far longer than the negative list. And I'm not asking you to be in denial. You can be very aware of your flaws, your shortcomings, and even when someone points them out, you can be very aware of them. And if you're trying to grow in those areas and you are already actively working on them and struggling and fumbling and maybe failing a little bit, but people can see that you're trying to work on those things. And even though you might not feel motivated, like a lot of times we just don't feel motivated, we feel so defeated, we just don't want to do it. But people can see that you're doing it, or you can see that you're still getting up and you're still trying to do it. Of course, you can look at your list of even the negative stuff and be like, okay, those are all areas I'm either working on or I needed that reminder. I'm going to take that conviction, all those different things. But then you take those things and you say, what changes do I need to make to improve my capacity in these particular areas? And let your confidence in who you are and where you're headed guide your next steps. Less is more. You do not have to validate the insensitive things that people say to you or give credit to every single thing. You don't have to touch on every point that they touched on. Sometimes your silence lets them know, like, nope, not buying it. Nice try, though. And let that silence and then your actions, what you're going to do instead, speak volumes. And then let them sit back and watch you come back stronger. That's right. Because you're going to come back and you're going to come back stronger, because that's what we're here today doing. We're talking about how do we keep going? How do we grow? How do we develop or operate in a confidence that maybe is already there, lurking below the surface of our inner world, and we just don't even know how to tap into it yet because we don't know how to find our way to it. I have experienced so much empowerment from exercising that silence that doesn't tap into every single thing. And it's a lesson that I had to learn over the course of many experiences where I realized that life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we're going to have plenty of opportunities to show people our performance over a long period of time. And anybody who's trying to just judge you over one little speck on this entire course of your life isn't your people anyway. And either way, even if they are your people, you are the authority in your own life. You get to decide how to troubleshoot and how to move forward, what you're letting in, who you're letting stay. You get to decide all of those things. So in closing, I just want to remind you that you are all queens. And sometimes I wish I could meet you on your own path of struggling through something and just straighten your crown for you and just remind you that you are amazing just the way you are, and that I'm really proud of you for taking these steps, including tuning in today to try to better understand your journey and to enhance your growth along the way. So I hope you're encouraged by this episode. And remember, if you missed the announcement, new episodes will drop every Tuesday. Well, girl, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, consider following my channel and sharing this with friends who also want to restore their self-worth and confidence. And if you're ready to get clear on your future and plan for your personal success, consider booking a one-on-one coaching call with me. Find more at restoreYourInnerWarrior.org/0 to clear. A link for this is in the show notes below. And as you go through your week, may your empowered spirit, mind, and heart guide you. Catch new episodes every Tuesday. Ciao.